Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, as our economy grinds to a halt and poverty deepens, more than 17 million South Africans rely on the state for a social grant. For many families, it's their only hope of survival. So why then would a government that purports to care for the most vulnerable in our society force this country into a grant payment crisis? While the obvious culprits are maladministration, gross negligence and incompetence. But this is not all. At the heart of this crisis is a dodgy tender, a rogue minister and a ruling party that no longer cares for the poor. But there are many other culprits involved in this SASSA scandal too. One culprit is the President himself. When I asked the President last year about the illegal deductions from grant recipients and the involvement of CPS, the current company that pays out grants on behalf of the state, he simply laughed at me and said, I must raise the issue with the Minister. When I asked the Minister about the pending grant crisis, she simply said that I've asked her this question before. Some ANC MPs are to blame for this crisis too. While the scandal unfolded over the past months, ANC MPs and the Portfolio Committee acted like professional thugs. On this issue, we were shut down, called to order and insulted. These ANC MPs went as far as answering questions on the Minister's behalf. And in fact, the only meaningful contribution they made in the committee was to point out that there was no numbers on the presentations. Another obvious culprit, of course, is the Speaker. Here in this House, she's allowed the Minister of Social Development to duck and dive, avoiding questions and accountability. Like the true Houdini of politics, the Minister is often nowhere to be found. And in her absence, she's left officials to face the music, which has resulted in the public and MPs being furnished with lies, lies, and more lies. So at the heart of this crisis is a deficiency of accountability, which has now become a trademark of how the ANC rules this country. And another culprit, of course, is the Minister herself. Sidestepping her responsibilities at a recent press conference, Minister Bathabile Dlamini launched a scathing attack on the media, which must be condemned. In the obscure universe she and her spokesperson lived in, they rocked up to a press conference with bad attitudes, no new info, and just another tall tale that everything was going to be okay, like true con artists. It is important to remember that the Constitutional Court gave this minister 3 years to sort out her mess. But what did Minister Dlamini do? Nothing. She ignored the court, she ignored the post office, and she ignored Treasury. So what has Minister Dlamini been doing apart from nothing? Well, she filed her duties to the nation somewhere out of sight and went campaigning to become the president of the ANC Women's League. Throughout 2016, she played the role. Throughout 2016, she played the role of
Honourable Merver, can you just take your seat? Who's calling for a point of order? Yes, Honourable Member. On which rule are you standing?
House Chairperson, I'm raising a point of order on Rule 89.
Yes, Honourable Member.
On Rule 89. This Honourable Member, he keep on reflecting on something that this thing is still in court, it's still pending. And something
okay.
While it's still in court. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Van der Merwe, will you just take your seat, please? Honourable Member, the Speaker and the Programming Committee has allowed this debate to continue, and I will allow the Honourable Member to continue as such. Continue, Honourable Member.
That Honourable Member doesn't want all the skeletons to come out of the closet, so sit down. Throughout 2016, the Minister played the role of President Zuma's protector, and as April 1 drew closer, Minister Dlamini kept her eyes firmly on her work as an ANC leader, giving her work to the people no attention at all. Today, we need Minister Dlamini to take personal and political responsibility for this crisis by vacating her office, failing which President Zuma must act. But we know that calling on President Zuma to remove Minister Dlamini will be a futile exercise because they're besties, and both individuals have demonstrated very little understanding or respect for the rule of law. Honourable House Chairperson, the IFP therefore proposes the following as a way forward. Firstly, the Speaker must institute sanctions against Minister Dlamini for having misled this House in November last year when she told us that her department was on track to pay grants themselves. The IFP will request the establishment of an ad hoc committee to probe the illegalities and corruption pertaining to the CPS tender and the crisis at SASSA. We do so because it's clear that our social development system has been captured and our Minister of Social Development has been captured. We need to get to the bottom of why Minister Dlamini is hell-bent on extending an unlawful billion-rand contract to a white foreign-owned company that faked their BEE credentials. The BEE frontmen are said to be Brian and Lunga is allegedly very close to Minister Dlamini. He even paid her Travelgate bill. So the worry now is that in this case, SASSA and CPS are directing millions to someone we just don't know who. This dodgy deal warrants nothing less than a parliamentary inquiry, and we support the calls for the public.
Honourable Member, please take your seat. Yes, Honourable Member.
The Rule 82. I'm speaking to respectful terms. No name to impugn the dignity of any member of this House should be used. Then when there are reflections on the minister's name, that is 85-2. We need a substantive motion because you're speaking about Scandalgate now and we're not discussing it. Thank you.
Honourable van der Merwe, the allegation that you said made remarks that may impugn the dignity of the minister needs to be made by a substantive motion.
Deputy Speaker, I said allegedly, so I think we must look at the Hansard, because I also didn't refer to a Scandalgate but to a Travelgate, so I don't think the member heard me.
Yes, I'm warning you, ma'am, that if you continue to do the order, Honourable Member, no matter how strongly you feel, if the language you use goes against the rules that you have accepted must be used, then it will be ruled out of order. I have warned you, so you proceed. The honourable members.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Singh.
Rising on a point of order, in particular to Rule 82.3.
Yes.
And not impugn or whatever else, but impugn.
Yes.
On the dignity of a member. No way did the Honourable van der Merwe impugn on the dignity of the Honourable Minister. All she referred to was a matter that was a public knowledge many, many years ago, and that's all she said.
Honourable Member.
No dignity that has been impugned.
Honourable Singh, thank you very much for your wise observations. I have ruled on this matter. Honourable van der Merwe, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the Minister of Social Development has defied the Constitutional Court. She's defied Treasury regulations. She's broken her oath of office and placed at risk the most vulnerable whom she's meant to protect. Is that enough to get her removed from her position? Under normal circumstances, surely yes. But in a country ruled by an ANC that has lost its moral fibre,
Honourable Member,
clearly
your time
no.
has expired.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker.